My son, Rob, is one who always stands for the voiceless or the powerless. He learned that early in his years because I always would tell him that.
Thank you, Senator Wiener, Assemblymember.
People who are very deprived, people who are prevented from being able to get into the mainstream because they have no access. You know, he wanted to be there for them. That's what he means when he says he's a people's lawyer.
Rob was born in St. Luke Hospital in Quezon City, in the Philippines. And we called him Andres after, Robert Andres, after Andres Bonifacio, one of the heroes of the masses during the revolution against Spain. It was 2 months after he was born that we landed in LA. He was born on September 22. And September 22, 1972, we were in LA and we heard the announcement. Ferdinand Marcos, the president of the Philippines at that time, declared martial law. We were actually having a party. He was turning 2. So, every time he would have a birthday, I also had to organize a demonstration or a rally or a community forum to educate the American public about martial law.
Cynthia being Filipina and I being Filipino, we were very active in the anti-martial law movement. And one of the ways that we were able to help and assist families like Cynthia's family was to provide childcare. Rob, he would organize his brother and sister to throw all the toys at us. And that was Rob's character. He was just sort of a rebellious kid, being able to lead and to take charge.
My parents are my biggest supporters and my biggest inspiration. My father was involved in the civil rights movement, and both my parents later worked for the United Farm Workers of America in La Paz in the Central Valley outside of Bakersfield, and we lived in a trailer that was a stone's throw away from the home of Cesar Chavez.
When we were living in La Paz, we always had Philip Veracruz and Pete Velasco, members of the board of directors for the United Farm Workers, have breakfast with us in the trailer. So they were always there.
My parents fought for things that we take for granted today, but weren't available to farm workers back then. Things like shade breaks and water breaks and bathroom breaks and a fair contract. So my parents just really showed me that everyday people fighting side by side can do anything, can change the world. And I saw them ask elected officials, people in suits, people with power, people with positional authority, to do things that supported those vulnerable communities that they were fighting for. And sometimes those elected officials would, and sometimes they wouldn't. And I thought maybe one day, with everything my parents gave me, with the legacy that they had started, that maybe I could be one of those elected officials. I've had the honor and privilege of being in office since 2007. As a special healthcare district director, and then city council member, and then assembly member for almost a decade.
The benefits of ethnic studies can be measured. Multiple studies show that when students of color learn more about race, racism, and cultural identity, they raise their grades and their graduation rates and are more likely to attend college. There are over 13 million Californians on Medi-Cal. That's 1/3 of Californians and half of our kids. We cannot risk losing this much needed federal funding. We need to continue funding the expansion of healthcare coverage and protect programs from cuts. In California alone, there are an estimated 37,000 APIs who are impacted directly by DACA. That's more than in any other state. They are American in every way except on paper. Our dreamers belong here, and we must stand up for them and protect them and defend them with everything that we have.
And now the honor and privilege of a lifetime as Attorney General. To me, the role of the Attorney General is to fight for everyday people. It's basically to support the little guy from being hurt or harmed and abused by the big guy. So whether it's folks who are feeling the sting of hate from hate crimes or hate violence, or taking on big polluters who are harming those who live at the intersection of poverty and pollution, or trying to make our criminal justice system more safe and more compassionate and give folks who deserve it a second chance. There's so many forms that it takes, but at its core, it's the same. It's seeing everyday people, fighting for everyday people, being their champion, and using the power that I have in this incredible role and lending it and sharing it to others who need it.
It takes a certain kind of individual, but so much of it isn't so much him. He represents a lot of us, all of us, who have all been part of working with him shoulder to shoulder. And being an Attorney General in the state of California, the biggest state in the whole country, 5th largest economy in the world, he has the machinery in that department to make a big difference. And I think this country will learn from him.
I want to begin this press conference by acknowledging that we are standing on the ancestral homelands of the Nis-Anan people.
Public service, elected public offices is the art of making people's lives better, and that's what I try to do every day.